All right, I'm here with Senator Chris Murphy. I don't want to call you congressman because you're not my congressman anymore. You're more my senator.
Right.
I really appreciate. Thanks a lot for coming back down to Danbury. It's been a little while since we've talked together. So my first thing, since I haven't talked to you since you became senator, just how is it being senator? What's the major difference between being Senator Murphy versus Congressman Murphy?
Well, it's really the difference between being one of 435 and one of 100. I mean, you just have a lot more influence on the issues that you care about. So for me, whether it's helping the kids here at the Romney Center at Ford College, or working on gun control, or trying to implement the healthcare law, when you're one of 100, you just immediately have a lot more influence. So that's a big difference. Obviously, representing the whole state makes this a very different job. So I've spent the first 3 months of my job really traveling around the state of Connecticut, getting to the places that I haven't represented to get to know those folks, to let them get to know me. And that's a big deal for me. I've lived in Connecticut all my life. My family goes back here generations. The state has meant an enormous amount to me and my family. So getting to represent the whole state is an enormous honor.
I'm sure you're dealing with stuff. I mean, you've been a congressman over here in the 5th Congressional District for a long period of time, but now you got to deal with stuff like in the 2nd Congressional District in terms of like defense and the submarine base, or things that happen in the 1st District, such as infill in that area. So I'm sure you're dealing with a wider range of issues throughout the state as compared to like just a small segment of the state.
I think there's two answers to that point, which is one, yes, there are a lot of issues that are new, relatively new. I represent now the sub base in Groton, and that's an issue in and of itself. I'm obviously representing the shoreline in suburban New York, so obviously Metro North now is a big issue that I work on. But the 5th District, I always argued, was kind of a microcosm of the state because it had cities like Danbury, it had traditional suburbs like a Newtown or an Avon, and then it had a big rural section in northwestern Connecticut. So you certainly get a good sense of what Connecticut is by representing the 5th Congressional District. Hopefully that gives me a little bit of a head start in this job.
Well, speaking about the 5th and speaking about the major issue that's gotten nationwide attention is, of course, the tragedy of Sandy Hook. As a former Sandy Hook resident, it hit me to the core when I heard about this situation, because that could have been me as a father, and that could have been my child at that school. So what infuriates me, and I just want to get your opinion on this, or your thought on this, is just the universal background checks, which you would think 90% polls show that like overwhelming support for this measure. Why are we having such a hard time getting something as simple as background checks through Congress?
I have no idea. I mean, the only explanation is that the NRA has way more power and influence than they should, because 90% of Americans support universal background checks, 74% of NRA members support universal background checks, and the only place in which this is a debate is in the United States Congress. We got a really good compromise announced this week, not as far as many of us would like to go, but really important in that it's a big step forward. It's going to take tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of guns out of the hands of criminals, ultimately, when it goes into effect. And hopefully we're going to get a vote for that bill next week. But if we don't, it's going to be a sad day for democracy. When 90% of the American public supports something, Congress should find a way to get it done.
And one more quick thing. Another thing that really infuriates me is these large capacity magazine clips. Time and time again, for as long as I can remember, we hear about tragedies where an insane gunman will come in with a large capacity gun clip and creates havoc. And we learned that in the situation of Newtown and in other situations, that when people have a chance to get free, it's because an individual is reloading their gun. Why is it that we can't get a handle or a ban on these large capacity guns that gives more firepower to a gunman as compared to the police officer?
Yeah, listen, it's obviously possible, because we've done it here in Connecticut. Even in redder states with more gun ownership like Colorado, they've gotten it done. Our hope is that we're going to be able to get it done at the federal level. There's just no reason why anybody needs a 100-round drum of ammunition. I don't think there's any reason why somebody needs a 30-round magazine either. And listen, I wish it weren't the reality that we live in a world today in which there's a lot of mass shootings. We do. And the reality of the mass shootings is the way they stop is when the gunman changes magazines. That's how kids escaped in Newtown. That's how the shooting ended in Tucson and in Aurora. I'm going to push hard to get it done. I'm going to continue to press the case to my colleagues, and if we don't get it done next week, then Senator Blumenthal and I are going to keep on pushing for it.
And finally, I just want to play devil's advocate and speak as the voice of the critics who say that, hey, you're trying to take away my Second Amendment rights. What do you say to people who are just concerned that their Second Amendment rights are being taken away by more legislation against ownership of guns?
Well, people don't have a Second Amendment right to own assault weapons, and criminals don't have a Second Amendment right to own guns. And I think we just have to be clear about what the Second Amendment is and what it is. The Second Amendment is not a right to own any type of firearm and any type of weapon that you want. And the Second Amendment is not a right for anyone, regardless of what you have done to harm your community, to own weapons. And so I just think we have to recognize that the Second Amendment should give you the ability to own weapons to defend yourself and to hunt and shoot for sport. There's still going to be thousands of weapons available in the state of Connecticut to do that. And the Second Amendment does not protect criminals. It protects law-abiding citizens. That's what background checks are about, just keeping guns out of the hands of criminals. That's it.
All right, well, thanks a lot for your time. And again, congratulations on you being senator, and I hope you be there for a good long time.
Thanks for all your great work out.
Thank you.